This is recording in progress. Okay, our meeting is being recorded right now. We are live. The sound probably is not so great because I'm just live with the phone microphone. And this is just for the sake of perhaps if someone wants to ask any questions or anything, and then we can talk about it or whatever. For the sake of involving the audience into this meeting, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you pretty much have no idea what's happening. So eventually you will have some ideas, maybe. This is just random. For you guys, we were supposed to talk about thoughts and meditation. Okay, welcome. Welcome to another episode of A School of Awareness. Another improvisation, it seems like, but I'm happy because we got many people this time here, you know. Now we have Martin, you know Martin from last week. We have Andre, we have Bill or slash something else. If he wants to share it, he will. Jonas and Mami. You also know me, right? So let's just start with Andre. Andre, tell us who you are and what's up.
I'm
No
I'm
rush.
just a dude that
Time.
watches Mommy. I met him a couple months ago, maybe almost a year. I don't know. Um, I do try to look inwards and get some deeper truth knowledge from my introspection, and all I want from life is to clean up the mud that is covering my light and just to live my joyous way of living, way of being.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Bill, maybe you give us a short introduction.
Sure. Nice to meet everyone. I'm Bill. I got introduced to Mommy's content probably, I want to say December of last year, December of 2025, just towards the end of 2025. I appreciated the humor and I guess the kind of sometimes antagonistic nature of Mommy, where you're meant to feel a bit unsettled and a bit offended, and it's something that really resonated with me. I think that there's a lot of meditation content that is very just feel good all the time, and that doesn't feel real to me. So I appreciated the real nature of what Mommy had to say. And in terms of my practice of meditation, I'm a big fan of two sayings: seeing that freeze, and then opening awareness. And I think that the root of what Mommy's content gets to, at least in terms of for me, is that seeing that freeze, or trying to find new ways of awareness, opening awareness to lead to a point of seeing that freeze. But nice to meet everyone, and yeah, I'm Bill.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, I guess we move on to Jonas. Jonas,
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Jonas. Why I'm here? I just I'm a YouTube addict. I have so many channels and so many videos seen, and one day, Mammy popped up, and I had to say it resonated deeply with me, more than the other guys, because like Bill already said, it's not always comfortable. It can be uncomfortable to be here. And I joined the School of Awareness, and I'm looking forward for the lections, for the school and teachings, and yeah, thanks.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Martin, I think you gotta take it as well, you know.
Sure. I mean, I'm the same guy as last week, maybe a bit different, just a little bit. I don't like. I don't know what I should say as a narrative right now because things do change very quickly for me. But basically, I'm an active person. I like thinking a lot. I like doing a lot. I like achieving. I like fighting. in a way. But at the same time, I see the like the transparency of all of these things, and like I'm becoming more and more aware of the like how stupid certain things are. But at the same time, I like playing this game of achievement. I like playing this game of creating stuff, and it's just something that I want to do more mindfully. Uh, but yeah, that's about it. I'm an active person. I think a lot, but I wanna continue doing that, but I wanna do that mindfully.
Mindful. I think pretty much all of us are big thinkers, huh? I can tell that I think a lot. Martin think a lot. Andre think a lot. Bill, perhaps you sound like you think a lot, a little bit. Okay. And Jonas, you say you're always in thoughts, huh?
Yeah, that's mind just don't shut up. They're always going and going and wanting and let me know. It's just the information flow that's too much to be aware of me being here, like saying like that.
You also, I just want to make sure, do you sleep well or what you were saying? Is it like you don't sleep well or what?
I mean, I sleep, I
Okay.
dream so much and intense, but I'm not aware that I'm dreaming when I'm dreaming.
Okay.
And in the morning when I get up, yeah, I get some, yeah, I always say noise in the head, cloudy mind, something like that.
I suppose I missed that bit. I don't know. My internet is not so stable. But, anyways, thank you. I just wanted to know that whatever you were saying about chronic insomnia, is that the thing? You dream a lot and then.
And maybe it has to do with it. I mean, I just the sleep has more phases, has several phases when you can go into, and I just come into REM phase. I can't go deeper.
Okay.
Yeah,
Have you done sleep studies?
yeah. I was in the laboratory. They looked on it, and maybe they give me some medication. But I'm not a big fan of medication. I would prefer to find a way to live like my body is, like my mind is, or to change the mind a bit that it's easier to live with, if it makes sense for you guys.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Thoughts, huh? Mind. Generally, what is this thought? What is this mind? I think personally, I come to this understanding that so much of the feelings create the thoughts. Like you could be smelling a nice coffee, and then all of a sudden you have so much thoughts, attached to it. Either it's for the future or for the past. You might touch something or you might see something that puts you in a direction of a thought, right? For me, most of my thoughts is created like that. When I observe it, when I look deeply, I see that most of the thoughts come from this feeling, and this feeling, most of the times, is very conceptual because there is always some sort of connotation you have to something that you feel. Therefore, you create some thoughts about it. That's why this practice of a stillness, that's why this practice of meditation, it helps you to get into that state of feeling less, being stimulated less. Therefore, you can easier get yourself into that no thoughts, because if there is not much to stimulate you. Therefore, there was not much to mind you, right? But let's ask Martin because he was sharing about he's been meditating for the past 1 week, right? And he already said he discovered a few things that he would like to share about meditation and, let's say, maybe the nature of the thoughts. I don't know what he's going to talk about. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. So I've meditated before as well, but never, like, I never made it a habit. I never made it something that I did with complete intention. It was just sort of every now and then I would have like a free day where I, yeah, have much to do, and I would naturally fall into that state in like 4 or 5, 6 hours of maybe walking outside or just listening to some insightful videos. Yeah, but the past week, like I made made it. Basically, I set an intention that I'll, like, every time I wake up, every day I wake up, I'll just sit for 15 minutes and I would just, simply just be there. And that really had an effect. I didn't, like, I was surprised a little bit because I know that it can be quite instant, this thing with meditation. Like, you can quite instantly discover something which you've just gone by for many years. But genuinely, like, I kept having the same day the past week, like the same day as I've always had, like for the past years, where I just work a lot and I do a lot of these things. But like, I did that, but at the same time it was completely different. Like, I was happy, much happier, and I was choosing the I was, like, I was more in control in a way of choosing what to do and how to do it, instead of just going into this flow of being consumed by the work that I had. And it was like a very noticeable difference. And I do realize that it's not a one-time thing. Like, meditation can seem sometimes like a one-time thing, and a lot of, like, in the past I've taken it as a one-time thing, and that's why I did it once, and then stopped for a while. But I know it's basically like something that you integrate into your daily life, and that could take all kinds of forms. Like, maybe you have 10 minutes now because your life is busy. Maybe you don't have the practice, so it's very difficult to do it first. But, like, it's just deciding that you, like, intending to do it, and then whenever you have the opportunity, you just take it. And that's like the smallest thing has like a big impact over time. Um, I find it difficult to meditate in the evenings because, as I said, throughout the day, like, my mind is, like, I'm a software engineer, to give some background. So that means I make a lot of decisions, and now with AI, like, everyone's using AI, and like the amount of decisions that we make is 10 times, 100 times more than they used to be. And these decisions are about, for example, how to make a certain system behave the way you want it to behave, and there's a lot of parts to it. And basically, like, my job is to just be in that information flow the whole day and to make these small decisions while holding the whole thing into context. And, like, I think, like, I imagine conceptually that taking on meditation as a practice would basically make this whole thing like 10 times better, because you stop being directed by the flow of information, but instead you just come a little bit above it, and then you can think more freely. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I think I've been talking for a while now. But
Yeah, I think you can talk for as long as you like, like we have no limitation on that regard, Martin. I can promise you that. And if anyone's, I guess, wants to get out of the meeting, they will get out of the meeting. I think we don't hold anyone accountable for anything. So please, just go for it. And I would
yeah,
like to also ask more questions from you because you also mentioned a few times that meditation is easy, right? But that's not something that we hear often. Why would you say that? Why would you say meditation is easy? Because if you ask Jonas, Jonas will be like, hell no. It's the hardest thing I can do.
It's a good question. I honestly I thought about it for a whole week. Why sometimes meditation feels impossible and other times it feels the easiest thing in the world. I don't have a good answer. You know, it's like sometimes I still struggle. Like I'm not saying like this past week has been perfect. Not at all. Like in the evenings, I barely could sit for 10 minutes. My mind was just overflowing with all of the stuff that I've been with throughout the day. It was impossible. Like, but then there's methods. Like for example, there's levels to it. That's what I would say. And when I would come home from work, I would just take a walk for like an hour or 2 hours without headphones, without music, without any of this, and it will take me a while to get back, and then I will be able to meditate. So sometimes it's very difficult, like when you're out in the world, and then you're captured by the world in a way, because the world is interesting. Like there's a lot of things happening, you want to engage with them, and then you get captured by it, and then you like finding your way. Like you literally have to walk all the way back. Like you walked 100 kilometers one direction, there's no 10 kilometers back, there's 100 kilometers back. So it's yeah, so that's kind of how it works. I think conceptually, like I can imagine that it's possible to engage with the world and be connected with the world without falling out of the state of meditation, but that just takes a lot of practice, I would say.
Yeah. Eunice, can you give me a short, you know, short explanation why meditation is so difficult for you?
It depends. It's not always hard. It's just recently hard. It's because, let's say, when I'm lying down, try to meditate, the mind is rushing. So thoughts for, let's say, for survival, planning in the future, what happened last week. I also lost an animal which was close to me, and some things like that. It's just constantly coming, coming, coming. And I mean, I cannot say it's not meditating when I'm sitting here and observing the thoughts, but they don't stop. They just arising and coming and coming and coming. Even when I'm saying it's everything is all right, I don't have to plan. I can plan later. Everything now is just good as it is. I don't have to change something. My mind always finds a reason to think.
Yeah, every mind really finds
Frustrated by the
that.
feeling.
But
Sorry,
under
mommy,
no,
but
go
do you do you get frustrated uh, when the thoughts don't stop?
No, no.
Do you have
I
like
just
some emotion? Okay, they
no,
just
no.
come and you. Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
just take them and try to let them pass and don't don't to follow the rabbit hole. Sometimes I can do it like this. And other times I found me 10 minutes later um, doing the cooking for next week, let's say.
yeah.
What
Okay,
was
okay.
what was your job, if you don't mind sharing? Like, is your job related to like? Does it require you to think a lot and to?
Oh yeah, it's a job which we always have changes. And there is no routine. So a lot of planning and a lot of changing. For example, you get your boss is coming, giving you a job, do this and this. You take up your ass, you do it, you have finished, and then he said, "Oh no, we haven't made make a change. But then we make it another way." It's
But
always.
but is there an information overload in a way that requires
Uh,
you to think a lot? Like you adapt, you say you're adaptive, and maybe you have to be very active. But does it require you to think a lot and to process a lot of data or something like that?
Absolutely. I mean, also in the state I'm right now, my mind or my brain isn't working properly with this sleep issue.
Yeah.
So this comes on top. And to be honest, it makes, yeah, it's kind of makes scarce to how it's going to be next week and so on. So you can really say the mind is actually running on survival mode, I can say. So finding a reason to think on, yeah, I mean, even if it's something simple like what I'm going to eat today, it's coming and coming, coming. I just cannot say, okay, it's all right. I will survive.
One
Thank you.
one thing I feel like I wanna, sorry, mommy. One thing I
No,
feel
no.
like I wanna just say very quickly is that like I personally believe that there is psychology, psychosomatic behavior, but there is also physiological things in the body. So if you have something physiological, which, as you said, with your sleep, you don't know what causes it. It could be psychosomatic. It could be the psychology causing it in a way, but it could also be physiological. And you know, i- in that sort of state, like I would, like personally, like for any friend that I have, I would tell them to, like, as much as they don't believe in the science behind it, or they don't want to, like, I'm not saying you don't believe in the science behind it, but as much as they want to find a natural cure for things, there's physiological stuff that unfortunately we cannot control. For example, if I didn't have an arm, like there's nothing I can do with my meditation that would allow me to gain an arm. But maybe like with some prosthetic or something, like there is value to the medicine and to the things that are being created. So that's the only thing I just wanted to quickly say. But it's of course everyone's choice whether they would want to take that or not, or if there is like even an option like that for you. I'm not saying there is.
Mhm. Thank you very much. Um,
Martin, I think you make a great point in terms of some things inherently you can't outthink or out just by or the absence of thinking or thinking. You can't solve it with the mind. And trying to cultivate a holistic practice to remove those fetters of sleep problems, just kind of clearing the roadblocks, clearing the runway towards clearer and free, just clearer being, more clarity in the sense of your being and more ease. And so between fixing a sleep issue, practicing yoga, trying to learn about different somatic releases, identifying points of tension in the body, and undergoing a physical process, whether it be walking, yoga, sport, swimming, whatever tickles your fancy, and is the most frictionless way of meeting that need. In tandem with a mindfulness practice, I think there's a lot of value to be gained. Just a thought.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
It's
think
like Martin said, I think a walk in the evening, like Martin does, I tried it already. It helps a lot, but I'm a lazy fuck.
that's perhaps one reason to your problems, Jonas, right? I
Mm.
would say if walking is not something that can help you stay motivated or inspired, perhaps you can find something else to replace with it, right? But somehow this physiological aspect of body toward how we create this reality for ourselves is very, very essential to our mental health, right? That's why one of the reason I was asking, do you sleep well or you're going through this sleep problem, because your brain really need that sleep, right? Your brain really need to process things at least during that sleep. And if you're not having a good sleep, or you have some sort of problem or some sort of job that you need to stay awake, therefore it will backfire. Therefore you will have more intrusive thoughts. As you say, some people will deal with intrusive thoughts more than just innovative thoughts or creative thoughts. Some people will struggle with the creative thoughts, but these intrusive thoughts, which all of them are intrusive somehow, but the ones that I mean by intrusive thoughts, the ones that you're not really in control, and they got triggered by certain emotions, and they get triggered by certain way of living, and perhaps from bad sleep to eating a very large meal, and then all of a sudden your head starts creating thoughts because your body is not at its prime to observe other parts. Therefore, there will be so many intrusive thoughts. In this case, of course, you need to put up a practice for this body to be able to create this flow of energy in the body. And if you create the flow of energy in the body, perhaps naturally your thoughts will reduce. Naturally, that the stillness will help you to have less thoughts. But at the same time, you got to also know the nature of intrusive thoughts, the ones that really block you to an extent. For example, what to eat today, to the ones that you predict future with it. You got to know that these intrusive thoughts will always be there because, as you said, the survival aspect of your life will always try to find some certainty in life. Your brain always try to find some sort of certainty because, of course, you said you're addicted to YouTube and social media as well. The consumption of that
YouTube.
only okay. The consumption of that much information on a daily basis, it will give you intrusive thoughts. It will give you all sorts of thoughts that they're not accurate at all, and they're all seeking for some sort of certainty. For example, Jonas, are we gonna eat today or not? If you just say yes, this sauce will leave you alone. But if you just say, oh, what to eat now, then this sauce will just hang around and you gotta deal with it. The 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 thoughts that pop up, they always look for certainty. They don't look for accuracy. So when they come up and think, oh, what to do like next year because we will not have any money and we will be homeless, as soon as you tell yourself that it's gonna be fine, we're gonna all die anyway, as soon as you give certainty, as soon as you just create this possibility for your brain not to worry, then it will leave you alone. But if you just want to be accurate, oh, okay, let's see what we can do so we make lots of money just because these thoughts came, therefore we will not be homeless next year. Therefore, this seeking for accuracy will drive you crazy. You know, I would say the best response to intrusive thoughts that they pop up in a way based on traumas, based on feelings, based on stimulations, whatever, is that shut the fuck up. It's like the best response is like, look, I know you're there. I know everything's shitty. I know that everything's suck. But at the end, look, we're gonna die anyway. At the end, you cannot make so much out of this life anyway. At the end, just chill. And this is something that you have to have an internal discussion with yourself. It's an internal thing because all of us deal with these thoughts anyway. All of us have to somehow provide some sort of accuracy in life to be able to have some sort of certainty, I would say. So remember, Jonas, find a practice that helps your body to get into less thoughts, and at the same time remind yourself, man, like there is nothing to achieve. Remind yourself that fishing on a boat in a lake is way enough, right? You don't need more than that.
Yeah, makes
Okay.
sense.
Perhaps we move on to Andre now. Is that the case, Andre?
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's just see what you have to share about thoughts and meditation, maybe.
Um, I see thoughts. Let me try to get this straight. the relationship I have with thoughts and meditation is like when I go to meditate, I'm giving myself space and time to let the thoughts settle, to let the dust settle. Um, if I, but sometimes that is not even possible. For example, if I have a breakup, man, all I'm thinking about is the breakup, and I'm feeling it, and I'm thinking about it, and I know that it will pass. I know that it will be fine. I know that it will end. But at that moment, I just have to leave it. I have to leave those thoughts, those emotions, and I can't escape them. I can't use meditation as a way out of my personal existence. I have to use meditation kind of a way to be at the center of the storm and let it pass through me and accept what is at that moment. Although sometimes it can help to settle, of course, right? Um, there are moments in my life where I really have to engage a lot of mental power. And another point I want to touch on, yeah, it's that of course digital simulation or any sort of artificial simulation will rise the dust, will make the wind blow harder in our head. And the more um, things we consume that are more in a continuum, or um, the less we consume ephemeral stuff, like stuff that just passes and doesn't give us anything, that just gives us a sugar high, um, that will cause more thoughts, of course. And anything that we do that requires an extended uh, period of attention, for example, reading something that has some. Well, the important thing here is that there's always a balance. There's always too much of something will tip the scale to the other way. So reading might be good for 30 minutes, an hour, but if you use reading as a way to not be present, then it will have the opposite effect, of course. Um, and the same with pretty much anything. I think studying is also, I think the best way actually to silence the mind, at least from for me, is to do what I know that I have to do. If I have to clean my room or my house, I'll just freaking go do my chores. If I have to go study, I'll go study. If I have to do whatever, the best way to silence my mind is to do that first, and then I have the space and the time to contemplate on the afterwards of that. Or even better is that I'm doing my stuff while I'm meditating through the process of doing stuff. That's kind of my relationship with thoughts and meditation. I use thoughts to think, to achieve something, and I try to drop them when there's nothing else to do, till something comes up from the silence for me to do. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. I would like to ask a question, but before that, I would like to ask Bill to give us maybe his perspective on thoughts and meditation, and if he could maybe turn on his camera, but if it's not possible, then it's fine. But if you could turn on your camera, that would be nice.
Alrighty, bad hair day. I was lying down, so yeah, screw it. We'll do it with the bad hair. Why not? That's part of the
Yeah,
meditative process. But
yeah, exactly.
Andre, to your point, I think this is a joke. The fastest way to quiet the mind is probably to shoot yourself. I say that jokingly, not to joke. But in terms of meditation thoughts, it's weird. Meditation is a weird thing because for me, it started out as you're living this life, you're taking classes, you're working. There are things that are causing you stress, these preoccupations, right, Jonas? You're talking about like a sleep issue, a pet dying, a breakup. There's all of these a million rational reasons to have your mind preoccupied, and you find coping mechanisms, whether that's the gym, drinking, smoking, running, whatever it is, to try to quiet the mind. And for me, I found meditation, and it was really initially a tool. It's like, okay, I want to quiet the mind, I want to experience less stress, and that was the starting point. Then you start a sitting practice, and you start to try to cultivate more mindfulness, and things get weird. Things get weird. Your conception of self dissolves partially. You used to think of yourself as like a unified self. There's one Bill. Then you realize you're kind of 20 Bills wearing a trench coat, if that makes any sense. Your structure, the architecture of your mind, your personality. I think when you sit long enough and kind of stare into the abyss, that emptiness or absence of stimulation that Mommy was talking about, things get very strange, but in a funny way. In a funny way. And in terms of dealing with things, for myself, my mental management is focusing more so on the process of my thinking than the content. So if I'm undergoing an experience where there's stimulus that's then prompting a negative response in me, it's realizing it's not engaging with the content, the actual negative thoughts that are popping up. It's really taking an earnest inquiry, that discussion you were talking about, Mommy, with between yourself of truly what is prompting this. Okay, I had this stimulus, therefore I had a mental motion that grasped toward this, that then led to that rabbit hole, Jonas, you were talking about, right? Like, it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole, but understanding the rabbit hole, and when you kind of see it for what it is, at least for myself, there's a certain freedom of like, right, I need to chill the fuck out. I'm tripping out over some shit. And when you kind of see it, like there's a distance. And Mommy, you've spoken to this idea of like the observer. There's like yourself that experiences thoughts, but always, no matter what, your entire life, the entire time you've existed, there's been a silent observer kind of seeing that. Um, and so just having certain realizations, reading certain books, certain experiences has helped to cultivate more mindfulness for me. But in terms of like the essence of what meditation is, I think just an emptiness of external and internal stimulation to a certain degree.
Beautiful, beautiful.
That's where I'm at, but we're all a work in progress, right?
Back again. Thank you for sharing. And this leads me to this question: that is salt really a bad thing? Like just because we talk about so much of thoughts, right? Because we are just so stimulated every day that thoughts are increasingly getting more and more, like essentially the thought is not a bad thing, right? Essentially the thought helps us to do so many things, perhaps created language, perhaps communication, perhaps all of these things that we have right now, technologically advanced world, and we could just be sitting here and having a chat together globally, all started by a thought, right? Some perhaps monkey was sitting and imagining a meeting right now that could happen, and this is happening, right? Like every creation is somewhat an imagination before, you cannot create before imagining it, right? Therefore, I would say thoughts or language in general are the most useful tools that we have. It's like you can't disregard thoughts. That would be like kind of in a way not intelligent at all, because you would be that monkey right now, if, let's say, we evolved through that process of monkey to human. We don't know, maybe aliens perhaps came and did something. We don't know. All we know that is that we have these possibility of creating thoughts, and we have this possibility of creating language, therefore technology, therefore now the language is just creating itself, right? AI is just basically a language that is going to become way better at communicating with us, because at the end is much more advanced than us. Therefore language is somehow liberating itself from this human being that was always carrying it and could not really put these thoughts into perspective. But AI perhaps can put all these thoughts into perspective now. It's just much easier to uh, think of something and get there. But for us, the thoughts are becoming so much that somehow it's creating trouble, somehow it's creating some sort of misery and suffering. Therefore, a practice of meditation, mindfulness, or whatever that enhances the quality of your life, like this is very important, enhances the quality of your life. It gives you a possibility to think way healthier. If you increase the quality of this body, living organism, and if you increase the quality of less stress, perhaps less anxiety, and all of these things, less, let's say, social media, less internet, less stimulation, then thoughts are brilliant. It's just like they pop up when you need them. They pop up exactly the way they need to be. They pop up exactly however you need to create your future with it. But now the struggle is how to get rid of these extra thoughts. The struggle is, if we don't meditate, the struggle is, if we don't practice mindfulness, it doesn't matter however it is, from martial art to absolute stillness, you could simply come to understanding that this body has a way of processing things. It's just like, if you allow it, it will simply process your extra thoughts and leave you with the thoughts that might be helpful. Therefore, meditation, I suppose. Or somehow, that's why I always mention living your life a little more naturally, because nature tends to stimulate the brain in a different way. Nature tends to stimulate the brain in a way that the thoughts are not problematic anymore. Then the funny things that Bill was talking about during meditation increases. The funny thing, then all of a sudden meditation becomes a spiritual. All of a sudden, slowly, the thoughts are not a barrier anymore. The thoughts are just like simply there, and you let them to be there. But then the the connection with something that I wouldn't want to explain it, or I have no explanation for it, that happens. And that's, I would say, we would like to bypass the thoughts to get there. Therefore, the thoughts on its own are not, in a way, so harmful, at least in my view. So the question is, how do you guys deal with your thoughts? Is it something that you're fine with it, or you're not fine with your thoughts generally? And then you want to do mindfulness, perhaps, to do something with these thoughts. What is this, relationship with your thoughts in regard to, um, is it bothering you, in some way or not?
Sorry, I have to disturb. I need to go. Battery is
No,
low.
no
Had to be
worries.
cut. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry. It was so nice to meet you all, guys. And see you next time, hopefully.
Yeah, so
awesome.
nice to meet you
Um,
too, Jonas.
just would like to say, sometimes the thoughts are fun and sometimes they suck. Okay. So in that case, I wish you a good
I wish you
evening.
all the
See you
fun
around.
thoughts. At least for
Okay.
today.
Thanks.
Bye, Jonas.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
Have,
around.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Jonas.
okay. Nice. I will just perhaps let's start over with these thoughts thing because I think we already talked about somewhat what I'm asking, but maybe I couldn't really put it in perspective in a way because I personally don't meditate to do anything with the thoughts. I'm already just like totally in control of the thoughts. Totally aware of all that is happening and totally aware of what I could be doing with it. Therefore, I meditate to do something else. Let's not get so detailed right now. But for me, meditation is a point that you can have a certain connection with something beyond this body. Have you guys ever got to any point of that? And do you have perhaps any talks on that? This was mostly my question to get here. It's like these thoughts, I think, except perhaps Jonas was talking about these thoughts can be problematic. For you, maybe not so much. Maybe, Martin, you start with,
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to say so many things because I've been listening to you guys, and you all
and
have
say
like
all of it.
parts of
Before
this.
you
Yeah,
get to any other talk, just let it go. Whatever you wanted to say, if you have anything in your thoughts, let it go.
yeah. Thank you. So you guys had like all the bits, and everyone shared like one bit, and then the second person shared the second bit. It's like the way I see thoughts is like it's a tool. Like as Andre said, he wanted to learn when to let the tool go. And that's like an important part of the story. It's an important bit is where to let the tool go. And then I don't remember who said what exactly, but yeah, to me it's like the thoughts are not even there. Like they're a complete illusion, and it's just like what happens with the meditation, like conceptually how I understand it, how I've gotten to understand it, is that there's like something behind your eyes, something behind your head, which is like a ray of, like, I would say it's like that's the way I see it. Like I literally had that like experience, like when I fell into a bit deeper meditation this week. Is like I saw myself as outside of my body, behind my body. It was like a ray of like sunshine. That's the best way I could say it, going through like my eyes and my body outwards to the world, and it was like me controlling a puppet basically. And like I know that the the thoughts are just a happening. They just happen. And then the thing with the thoughts are that they can play with themselves. It's like thoughts can interact with other thoughts, and it can become this like infinite recursive loop of these thoughts playing out. But it's the attention. It's like when you put the attention on the thoughts, that recursive loop gets going. When you put the attention away from the thoughts, the recursive loop untangles itself. So it's not the thoughts that are like a problem, is the where you put the attention. And where you put the attention is everything. Like that's all that we are, is our attention. If we put the attention into something evil, our puppet becomes evil. If we put our attention into something good, our puppet that we control becomes good, let's say. But it's just the attention.
Beautiful. Thank you for bringing the attention to our attention because that's kind of in a way important when it comes to thoughts and getting carried away and engagement, right? Because as you were mentioning about illusion, you also create this illusion, right? You also get to give it a life. This illusion is your creation, therefore your engagement keep it alive.
Yeah.
Therefore your attention will help you to stay engaged. And as soon as you just drop the attention, then it's hard to find that thought again, it's like almost gone. You have to create a new illusion. It's like almost you cannot get hold of it, because where is it? It's gone, absolutely gone. Beautiful, thank you. Let's maybe see what Bill has to say about this part of beyond thoughts, and perhaps you just add whatever you want to add.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'll get to that. I really resonated with what Martin you said in terms of the being the pup. Like you're initially the puppet who's directed by the stimulus and all of that, and the goal truly is to become the puppeteer of yourself as the puppet, and by having that gnosis or knowingness of self and what's going on and how to direct yourself better. And to your point about applying attention and that how and the sort of causes of that after you apply attention to something. I think of like in Photoshop, if you have the paintbrush, you can change the opacity of how strong that kind of that color is. And especially when I'm struggling with something I don't want to do. Let's say you're at work and you're doing a bullshit compliance training, you're dealing with a stupid task that you want. The struggle for me is by having too much opacity. It's by applying maybe 100 or 95% attention on that thing, and that's where the struggle is born from, the internal discord, the frustration. I can still take the physical actions of doing that task, but if I reduce that attentional opacity to 20% instead of 100, I'm just not struggling with it nearly as much. And those thoughts, like you said, mommy, of the struggle or whatever it is, they drop because they have to. They have to, because those thoughts are a product and are born from the opacity of the attention that I'm applying to that thing that I perceive as struggle. But it's completely detached from my ability to physically act on it. And so that result of completing the training, completing the task, can still occur. I just have to have less, attention applied to the struggle piece. In terms of connecting with a higher power or communicating with something in terms of my meditation, I think it's kind of swimming upstream to where things start. That's how it feels for me. It's going from this place of here and now and being preoccupied with that to then detaching from it, removing myself from that, then swimming upstream towards where all that is generated from. And for me, like I said in the earlier call, it kind of feels like similar to that ray of sunshine. It feels like a loving kindness. It feels like a joke. It feels like this entire time I've been playing a joke on myself and I just need to laugh because, like, right, I'm gonna die. Like, of course, this is all bullshit that I'm caught up in. Right? It's actually hilarious. Like, I think the most I've ever laughed has been after a very deep meditation where you're like, right, I'm like completely lost in the sauce here. I'm completely, it's all self generated. It's self perpetuated. I'm too attached to these things. And when all those layers of the onion are peeled back, it's a feeling of attentional love, kindness, and wanting to do good and then wanting to be a positive influence. Understanding yourself, your thoughts, beyond the thoughts is technology or tools. Viewing yourself as a technology and tool to enact greater virtue, greater good, you get to a point of values, I think, after communicating with whatever essence, being, entity, God. Every religion practice is a different, name for what I think is that feeling of loving kindness. Um, and I know you mentioned earlier, Martin, that you're in software. I know a lot of folks are really getting into jhanas and things like that. I don't know how much of a fad that is, and these like bliss states, and if they're truly trying to get to a point of meditation or if they're seeking an escape, right? You don't know, but there's more and more very smart people in the tech field getting into meditation, and more so understanding the qualia of the mind, understanding self in a better way. Things that used to be ineffable, things we couldn't explain, are now getting increasingly more explainable. And so I think there's, people write off software folks as leading to heady of an existence. It's way too cerebral, way too mental. And I think my goal as someone who does a lot of knowledge work is to just it's holistic. It's a grounded, holistic practice where I can enact good, in my community, but be as clear in my thinking as possible. Yeah,
Yeah, but the goal is not to eliminate the thinking. It may even enhance it if you.
exactly. Not to eliminate the thinking, but to enhance the quality of the thinking. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, same for me.
Beautiful. I will wait for that day that Most of you become yogis. We'll see. No, honestly, I think there is no better cure than meditation for a brilliant mind. If you introduce meditation to a brilliant mind, like I would say, they realize so much that they can almost increase so much of awareness in the world that all of a sudden it creates a shift and transition into a better way of living. And I think more thinkers are turning to meditation these days because, you know, now everyone somewhat looking for some sort of answer because everything is just so dystopian these days. It's like somehow we're thinking to ourselves, like, how did we get here? It's like, honestly, like, so much of advancement in this technology, and we're still lagging behind as a collective. We're still just so immature in a way. And I think these days meditation can be very helpful because the collective consciousness is just upgrades, right? And the more you upgrade this whole collective consciousness, it spreads faster and easier. Therefore, we all got to this point to realize that perhaps science cannot be true all the time. Perhaps science was good for a while. From now on, maybe there is something else going on. Maybe there is something else that we haven't really figured at all. Maybe there is a simulation going on. Maybe we can even prove that this simulation is real, and we will. It's not so hard to look at the codes of the universe. I mean, there is also this DMT experiments recently that is kind of, in a way, trying to prove that you can look at the codes of existence and it can simply prove that we are in some sort of simulation. But we want more proof. Let's say we want to really look at the pixels of this universe. We want to look at the pixels of this tree that I see right here and say, oh, you're really literally an illusion. You're just simple code. And perhaps we're getting there. Perhaps it's not so hard to somehow upgrade consciousness to an extent to realize that, okay, we're just a speck of this whole thing that we thought we figured it out, but actually this is not the true, let's say, manifestation. This is just some sort of, at least for me, until now, it's some sort of experiment. We are in this experiment, like it or not. We all gotta figure out all together. We gotta somehow come out of this experiment victorious, somehow come out glorious, somehow come out with grace or the love and kindness that you're talking about. Because essentially, when you sit with yourself and you get to that samadhi space, when you get to that space of non self, I would say, you actually get to see the face of what it looks like to be real than the one that we are experiencing right now. Nice. Thank you. Beautiful. Andre.
No, thank you.
Mom,
Honestly,
to your point, sorry, Andre, I didn't mean to interrupt. You just everything you said reminded me of an author named Robert Monroe. He's written a couple of very cool books, and there's something called the Monroe Institute, and he's the guy that did the Gateway project. I don't know if you guys are familiar, like Hemisync. Definitely
No.
worth looking up. But essentially, he wrote a couple of really cool books, kind of talking about out of body experiences and just his experiences. It just talks a lot about the loving kindness, what's next, upgrading consciousness, ways of being, interacting with the world, kind of seeing beyond the veil, piercing the veil a little bit. I know Rob Burbea and a lot of other really great authors talk about these things. And then also just a little bit of what you touched on speaks to a really great book called On Sanity and Sainthood by Dr. Tucker Peck. He's a really fascinating guy. He's based in San Francisco, and he essentially is like a therapist, like a Western style therapist, but his patients are high level meditators, like the people that are leading the meditation retreats you'll see out in California and whatnot. Those are his patients, and he's also a meditator himself. And it's a really great book that kind of melds Eastern and Western belief systems into a practice or sort of way of thinking.
Yeah.
So really appreciate that insight, Mommy, and apologies for interjecting there.
No, man. No apologies.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
But sorry.
Go ahead, Martin, because I don't have much to say, honestly.
Yeah, I was just saying to mommy that you said it so good. I was translating.
Ah,
Yeah. Praise me more. I like that. No, I'm just trying to give this energy to the ground because you guys are just so nice. Yeah, beautiful. I guess we can somehow end it here, because we peaked somehow and we kind of did it for an hour. I don't really want it to be so long, but it could be long. We could just go on. If you guys have something to add or just like spill your guts out, spill your hearts out here. I'm ready to pick it up. But Andre, you said you don't want to touch upon anything, right?
I maybe just want to add on what I said before about thoughts and meditation. Um, for me, at least, it's really about the balance between. It's like a balance of energy. If I don't spend my energy somewhere, I get a lot of restlessness in the mind. So I got to do some type of exercise to consume that energy and get a clear, spaced head. Um, and then, for example, with the sleep, it's annoying because it's a feedback loop, a positive feedback loop, right? It's where you don't sleep, so you are more restless, then you are more restless. You have a harder time getting to sleep, and you are tired, but at the same time, you have all this happening inside of you. So it's hard to deal with that. And I know that everything that I said, it's like coming from a place of privilege because I don't have any like health problems or any dysfunctional like uh, physiological pattern that makes me not be able to do whatever. I really have the opportunity to find like the most balanced thing I can for my body without having any out of balances. So
That
there's
is a
also
big blessing. Big
uh,
blessing.
yeah, yeah. uh, so I know there's that. With everything that I spoke, there's also that point, and it's arguably the most important. That is, if you don't have the conditions for success, it's way harder to have that type of success, right? Uh, so yeah, to give that no thought.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing, and I cannot appreciate more. Like I'm so grateful. Honestly, it's becoming the day that I'm looking forward to. This is something that is a no go. But I'm looking forward to this day. So thank you for that. This is great, and we will have perhaps the next talk next week. But I will be anyway in contact with you guys. But I'm just saying this for the YouTube. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here and allowing us to be here. If there is any questions, anything that you would like us to talk about, perhaps put up a comment. We will open it up next week and see what we can talk about it. If you would like to be part of the podcast or the school community, consider joining. We have a pretty, good thing going on, and I would like it to be bigger, and perhaps we get to a point that we can do something together, as a team. We can just simply put up our energy and thoughts and perhaps somewhat create something for ourselves to be able to retreat to be able to create some sort of sanctuary in a world that increasingly needed more and more. So we are here with open arms. So consider joining in. I will just stay like this for the next minute. Whoever wants to say his piece for the goodbye part, be my guest. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for being on the other side with humility and an open heart.
Thank you. With an open heart and an open mind. I hope you guys all have blessed days and blessed weeks.
Much love. Guys, I will end this meeting altogether. We go. Okay? Bye. Thank you for today. Bye bye.
See you.